Hi everyone, it's really lovely to have you back in my art room with me. My little dog Benji's at my feet and we're ready to create, so I hope you are too. Gather your resources, pens, paints, pencils, crayons, whatever you have to create with, bit of paper, and let's have some fun. My project is going to be based around a pineapple, and I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing what you choose to do as we explore Cubism together. Bye! This is the second attempt at filming a lesson on Cubism, and what I did was go through my pantry and also my backyard looking for different things that might be an inspiration that I could use. And the pineapple is the biggest one for me. We have pineapples growing in our garden, although this isn't one that we've grown. However, we will take the top off and plant that and get more pineapples in the future. This is actually a golden passion fruit from our garden also, and we had a big flock of cockatoos come through a few days ago and they were picking them all off green, but I brought that one in. And then in the fridge I had an apple and I also had a peach. And I've been thinking about, you know, how can I represent these in a Cubism style? And I did film part of a lesson. However, we had some glitches, so I've got a beginning of one here. And although I used the pineapple as my inspiration, I decided to go with a pear and a cherry, which I don't actually have here, but I just like the composition of it better. So Cubism was a very short part of art's history, and it was created mainly by Pablo Picasso, and it's recorded as being only from the period of 1907 to 1914. And one of the things that Cubism was known for was taking people or still life objects and flattening them out, making them more two-dimensional as opposed to three-dimensional, and also disregarding things like perspective and foreshortening. They also would often disregard colour, and if you look at Picasso's work, a lot of his work was done in blue. And keeping that in mind, with this lesson I wanted to have a really limited palette. So I've gone with two complementary colours, and if you remember, complementary colours are those that are opposite each other on the colour wheel. So I'm going with the yellow and with the violet or purple. So the paints that I have and that I'll be putting out for this lesson are cadmium yellow medium, a dioxide purple, a titanium white for tinting these two, and also a carbon black, which will give me shades. And using the white and the black with these two colors, we're going to be able to get lots and lots of tones, as you can see here, of those particular colors. So now we need to begin. So please have fun, paint along with me, enjoy the process, and here we go. I have a normal lead pencil, which I've been experimenting with drawing. However, if I work with my Conti's Paris pencil, it's much blacker and darker, so that you're going to see my drawing lines much easier. So I'm going to start with a position of the table. I'm going to go roughly a third down. I can use a ruler if I want to. So I've got 1/3, 2/3, which is a nice composition. And now I'm going to think about where I'd like the pineapple. And I'm going to do the pineapple a little bit like brackets or parentheses. So we've just got two of those, round off the bottom. And then we need to have a think about the leaf structure. and the leaf structure is quite angular already, so it lends itself beautifully to a cubism design. And so does the pineapple pieces themselves, the shape of those. Now I'm going to put in some rough guidelines. I'm hoping that they're coming out. They're a little bit hard for you to see. I might zoom in even with the darker pencil. Alright, I'm just getting in the basics for what I'm thinking would represent pineapple leaves. It doesn't have to be perfectly correct, but just an idea. So I've got my pineapple, and now I'm thinking I'd like the pear put in, and I've got a horizontal and a vertical, so I'm thinking I might skew my pear over this way a little bit, and I want it to sit in front of my pineapple. So again, I'm doing a very small bracket. I'm going to do a fatter bracket down the bottom, and then I'm going to just scoop those in, put a little top on. So I've got the basic shape that we would recognize as being a pineapple, and then I'd like something smaller over here, and I'm going to go with a cherry, and I'm just angling my cherry back in the other direction just so that the composition has some interest. Now with cubism, the shapes aren't actually curved in the way I've drawn them here, so we need to actually straighten those off. So with my pencil again, I'm just going to start going over the basic shapes that we have underneath, and I'm just going to give them a little bit more shape. And you could be doing this in a lead pencil, you could be doing it in a pen, a felt pen. Just keep in mind that if you're doing it, you don't particularly want your drawing item to be water soluble. So if you're working with a pen, say a chalk marker, you're going to find that it's going to move as soon as you start adding paint and water. If that doesn't bother you, go ahead, but just keep in mind that you will get a smudge. So here we are, stylizing our fruit shapes. It feels always very, very strange to be filming and not and talking and not having someone right there. Now I'm going to put in my leaf designs or shapes. Try and join them up. You could do this freehand if you're more confident in drawing straight lines. I decided that I'd do it with a ruler, but by all means give it a go without. There's no right or wrong way of doing it. Now, as I'm drawing the lines, I'm noticing that I've got a few places where the lines are not joining up. For example, this triangular shape here really needs to connect there, because otherwise when I'm painting that would be all one color. Again, I've got a gap that's showing up here, and I want this leaf to be one colour. Now these two are very close, so I might just readjust my line. This section here is all open, so I might close that one off. I might close this one, and I might close that one. So at the moment that's looking as though they're all closed. I can even make some of the pieces a little bit smaller so that they're not just all straight triangles. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll go across this way. Now we need to adjust the foreground, or the table that they're presumably sitting on, with the background, and we also want that to be full of angles. Now you could do a grid if you wanted to, or you could continue with this triangular pattern, and I'm thinking I would like to work more grid-like on the table. So I'm guesstimating, which is estimating with a guess, my lines. All right, so now we have a gridded foreground. However, I'm thinking I'd like the top to still be random triangular kind of shapes, so I'm going to do them in all kinds of funny angles. Bring that one across, closing in the shapes. I think that's important. Same here, this is all one color because the triangles are not actually touching, so I can continue some of the lines so that they become individual shapes. So I've got my background done, and now I have to think about my pineapple. Okay, so they're sort of a little bit hexagonal in shape. They do have linear a linear look going through. I don't really want it to be checkerboard. But I might follow that linear idea across. So I've got my pineapples now in I might do a stylized. You can see with the shorter lines I'm not actually using my ruler. You can. So basically I'm doing a triangle and an upside down triangle. So I'm doing top triangle and a bottom triangle. This line we need to ignore. So top triangle, bottom, and you know, every time you explore something with art, your results are likely to be very different. And even with you following along at home, yours is going to be different to mine. And don't restrict yourself to a pineapple or to the colours that I've chosen. You choose colours that resonate with you, colours that you actually enjoy working with. By all means, use this design. In fact, I might take a photo of it. I'll do that now. So that I can easily give it to you. All right, I'm going to zoom out just a little bit and pop my pineapple out of reach. I have my container with some clean water, won't stay clean for long. Put my pens and pencils away. I've got a selection of flat brushes here. This one is a De La Rowney. It's a 1/2 inch flat. This one, oh, it's very hard to see. It's old. Have no idea what it is, but it's less than a 1/2 inch. This one, I do believe, was a cheap, like $4 brush set from a discount store, and it would be a little bit more than 1/2 inch. It's probably a 3/4. See, there's a 1/2. So it's a little bit more than that, but it's actually a really nice brush. And if I leave it in the water, because it has a plastic handle, it doesn't perish. When you work with brushes that are made of timber and they're left in the water actually makes them all crack and the paint peel, and then you lose, you don't know what kind of a brush you actually had. Here's another one. You can see that I've been very naughty and I've left it in. I think it was a Princeton, but anything that's got a plastic handle like this one lasts me really well. So I'm looking at maybe using these two flats, but we'll see how we go. So I have my cloth here for wiping my brush because I don't want the water to, at this point I'm not wanting the water to be, I'm not working in watercolor is what I'm trying to say. So I've got my cadmium yellow, my dioxide purple, which will probably look very black on your screen, my titanium white, which I will use most of, and this one is very thick, so it's often difficult for me to get off the palette. And then the last thing is a tiny little bit of black, and we don't use a lot of black. Oh well, you might choose to, but I'm not going to. Now, I'm not even sure if this pencil rubs out very well. No, it doesn't rub out very well at all. Not to worry, what we will do is go over it, and I'm just going to add some of those shapes to the pear and the cherry. I just realized that I hadn't completed that. So in my mind, I'm thinking a pear is often a yellowy green kind of color. So that's what I'm thinking I'd like to do with this pear. My cherry is going to be the biggest challenge because a cherry is more a red, and I don't have a red on my palette, but let's see how we go. All right, I'm going to wet my brush, wipe it. I'm wiping excess water off on the edge of my container. That's what you can hear. And I can also take excess off on my cloth. And I'm going to start with a straight yellow. And I would like some parts of my pineapple to just be the original primary colour without any mixing. So what I'm going to do is just go through and paint some of the sections that I want in the original colour. Again, if you've used a water soluble pen or pencil, it's going to come up. This one is actually a little bit, I can see that it's starting to move, and some of the underlines, I don't know if you can, zooming in, this line that I drew is actually showing up underneath this yellow. It's not opaque enough, so I'll probably choose to do that one in a lighter colour. Now if you did yours just with a lead pencil, you would have been able to rub out all your guidelines, but because I did it darker so that you can see, that's not the case for me. And I'm going to have to work with that. I'm thinking I generally have my light source coming from the top right. That just tends to be where I place it if I'm not doing it directly like a front-on portrait where it's coming straight towards me or straight towards the face that I'm drawing. Alright, I might do one more over here, although that one's not going to work. It's got a line in it. I don't want them touching, so I might try here. Alright, so there's my yellow in my pineapple. And I'll probably have sped this up for you because it takes too long for you to watch it. One more. Over here. And now what I'm going to do is start tinting. So I'm going to use a little bit of white and mix it with just the yellow that I've got on my brush. And now I have a much lighter yellow. And when you add white to a colour, it makes it much more opaque, which means it's less see-through. So it should, and it did, cover the dark pencil line that I had drawn. I'm going to do this. This will be one of the lighter sections of my pineapple over on that side. And what my plan is to fill this all in, still being able to see some of the guidelines that I have underneath, and then at the very end, when the piece is completed, I'm going to redraw the lines that I want to give the definite cubist style some more form. And I might do that with a chalk marker. I'm not sure. I could use a Posca pen or a chalk marker, one of those, and it should work it should work really well. Now I'm wanting to go lighter again. So again, you've noticed I'm not washing my brush. I'm just adding more white to my palette, and again it will go lighter. I'm thinking I'll go over this one. So I'm going to continue lightening my yellow to get all of these different tints. I'd like to put some over in my pear as well. And again, I'm thinking the light's coming in at this direction. So I'm conscious of the light hitting my pineapple. Might actually put that yellow up there and down here, and then change the one in the middle. There we go. Now just to show you so that I can then fast forward, I've washed out my brush. I want to go with a greeny tone. So what I'm going to do is get my yellow, and I'm going to get the tiniest little bit of black. Put it in my yellow, and straight away I have a really incredible and very pretty green. And with this green, I can actually lighten it, so I can tint it, and I can keep tinting that. So I'll put it on my lighter side here. However, I can also keep darkening that same green. I can take more, tiny touch, and there we go, back to one. And then with no white, I can make it darker and darker and even darker again. so now I'm going to actually follow the same process that I did with the yellow, creating the pineapple and the pear, and I am going to use the purple and I am going to tint it and shade it. And what I'm thinking is that I'm going to use lots and lots of tints at the top, but then do lots and lots of shading at the bottom. There you go, I've finished with the exception of the line work, so I'm going to set it aside, let it dry, and then come back and use probably a uni chalk marker or possibly a uni Posca, one of those for doing the line work. I could do it with a brush, that's another option with the black. So I'll have a think about it. I might even do a combination of the two, but I'm going to set it aside and let it dry and then come back and put the finishing details. So I hope that you've enjoyed following along. I hope that you get some inspiration for doing your own cubistic art and have fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you might post. So that would be lovely to hear back from you. Bye for now. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. It took a while. Doing the intricate shaping on the pineapple was a lot longer than the first time I had a go. However, it's coming up quite nicely. Here's mine almost finished. And what I chose to do was just water down the leftover black paint that I had still sitting on my palette, and I used a liner brush, hope you can see that, and just went for it. I didn't try and use a ruler, I didn't try and use a marker, I just freehand all the lines. And the only thing I have left to finish is the checkerboard, which will take a couple of minutes, and I hope you've really had a lovely time. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye.